It's night on Sunset Boulevard. Traffic moves like a slow river of headlights, and above it, on a bend of the hill, there's a building that looks less like a hotel and more like a secret. A castle-shaped silhouette, tall windows, heavy shadows, and a quiet rule that every important person in Los Angeles learns fast. Some places exist to be seen, and some places exist so you're never seen at all. Château Marmont belongs to the second category. It's not the biggest hotel in Hollywood. It's not the newest. It doesn't try to impress you with glass towers or neon. And yet, for nearly a century, it has held something that's more valuable than luxury: privacy, leverage, and silence. The kind of silence where careers get repaired, where reputations get rebuilt, where deals change hands with no cameras, no schedules, no receipts. People call it a legend, but legends are usually clean stories told from a distance. The truth is messier. Behind the romantic castle facade is a system, designed, refined, and protected, that turns a hotel into a power tool. So tonight, we're not just exploring a building, we're investigating a machine. And the real question is simple: what does it cost to buy secrecy in Hollywood, and who pays the price?
To understand Château Marmont, you have to understand its address. Sunset Boulevard isn't just a road, it's a stage, a pipeline, and a filter. It pulls people in, ambitious actors, writers, producers, musicians, and it tests them. Some become stars, some burn out. Some learn to survive by controlling one thing above all else: the story people tell about them. Hollywood runs on narratives, not just on screen, in real life. Who's rising, who's falling, who's difficult, who's genius. These labels can be worth millions, and once a label sticks, it's almost impossible to remove, unless you have the right allies, the right cover, and the right place to disappear for a while. That's where the Marmont becomes different. It sits high enough to feel separate from the street, but close enough to stay connected to the industry's bloodstream. It's not the kind of hotel you discover by accident. You arrive with intent. Either you're hiding or you're meeting someone who is. And the Strip itself always had a special chemistry: glamour plus danger. Bright lights, fast money, late nights, and constant risk. That risk is exactly what makes privacy valuable. The more the world watches you, the more you need a corner where the world can't reach. Château Marmont didn't become powerful by accident. It became powerful because it was built for a city that can't stop looking, and it offered something the city couldn't resist: a place where the looking ends. The building looks like a European castle because that image is the first layer of the spell. Hollywood loves fantasy, even off-camera, and a castle suggests distance from normal life. It suggests privilege. It suggests that once you enter, different rules apply. When Château Marmont began, Los Angeles was still inventing itself. It wasn't the world capital of entertainment yet. It was becoming that. Money was flowing in, land values were rising, people were arriving with dreams and leaving with nothing. And the city's elite needed places that felt permanent, places that told everyone, we're not temporary, we're not a boom town, we belong here. A castle on a hill does that. It broadcasts stability. It looks older than the city itself. It tells a lie that feels comforting, that the people inside are untouchable. But there's another reason the castle matters. A castle is designed with layers: outer walls, inner halls, private rooms. It's built to control access. That architecture becomes social architecture. You can be in the same building as power and still never touch it. Or you can be guided into the right corridor at the right time, and suddenly your life changes. That's the secret genius of the Marmont's design and vibe. It creates separation, not only from the street, but between people. It lets the staff manage movement, visibility, and proximity like a chessboard. And in Hollywood, controlling proximity is controlling destiny.
At first, the Marmont was simply a place to stay. But it didn't take long for Hollywood to do what Hollywood always does, turn a location into a symbol. Studios grew stronger, stars became brands, and the industry learned that public attention is both a weapon and a threat. Stars are marketed like products, but products don't have private mistakes. Humans do. So the entertainment world needed buffer zones, places where people could be human without paying the full public cost. The Marmont became a buffer zone, a holding room between your public self and your private self. You could check in, shut the door, and for a moment, the world couldn't reach you. Over time, this creates a strange effect. The hotel becomes a mirror. The more famous you are, the more you need it. The more you need it, the more it becomes associated with fame. And the more it's associated with fame, the more it attracts the next generation of people who want to be famous. So the Marmont didn't just host Hollywood. It became part of Hollywood's psychology, a place where success feels real and failure feels survivable. A place where your image can be repaired in private before it's released back into the wild. And once a hotel becomes that kind of tool, it stops being neutral. It gains influence. Because influence isn't only money, it's the ability to decide what is seen, what is not, and what is remembered.
Most hotels sell comfort. Château Marmont sells controlled reality. Think about what privacy actually means here. It's not just no paparazzi. It's a whole system. Discreet entrances, staff culture, quiet policies, and a reputation that keeps outsiders unsure of what they might trigger if they cross a line. And reputation is key. The hotel's greatest security system is not a fence, it's a myth. People believe certain things will happen if they break the unwritten rules. That belief shapes behavior. It makes everyone careful. If you're a celebrity, you want a place where your presence won't become a headline. If you're a producer, you want a place where a meeting won't be leaked. If you're a fixer, you want a place where problems can be handled quietly. Over time, the Marmont becomes an ecosystem where discretion is rewarded. The staff becomes skilled at invisibility. The guests become skilled at silence. And silence becomes currency. Because in Hollywood, information is power. If someone knows your weakness, they can control you. If someone can protect your weakness, they can gain your loyalty. A hotel that protects weaknesses becomes valuable in a way that money alone can't explain. So yes, it's a hotel, but functionally, it's also a vault. And what it stores isn't gold. It stores stories. Every legendary place survives by having a rule book, even if it's never written down. At the Marmont, the rules are social, not legal. Don't expose other guests. Don't turn the lobby into a circus. Don't treat it like a tourist attraction. Don't bring chaos that threatens the hotel's reputation. And the most important rule is this: the hotel must always feel safe for the powerful. Not emotionally safe, strategically safe. That means staff behavior matters. The hotel becomes known for not reacting. If something strange happens, it's handled quietly. No performances, no gossip, no leaks. Because the moment a place becomes unsafe, Hollywood moves on. The industry is ruthless like that. So the Marmont survives by acting like it has no eyes and no ears, while in reality it must have both, because any operation this complex requires awareness. This creates the core paradox. The hotel sells invisibility, but it can only sell it if it remains highly organized behind the curtain. That organization costs money. It costs discipline. It costs constant decision-making about who belongs and who doesn't. And that's where dark enters the story. Because when a place is built around protecting power, it will always face the same question: who gets protected and who gets sacrificed to maintain the illusion?
There's a reason the Marmont became a magnet for both creativity and chaos. Those two forces feed each other. Artists need freedom. They need to experiment, to fail, to be strange. But in public, a famous person is not allowed to be strange. They're expected to be perfect. So creative people crave private zones where they can be unfiltered. At the same time, Hollywood attracts people who live on the edge, risk takers, thrill seekers, impulsive personalities. Fame amplifies everything. It turns normal temptation into infinite temptation. Put these groups in the same private space and you get intensity. That intensity becomes the hotel's vibe. People don't just stay there, they feel like they're inside a movie. And that's a dangerous feeling, because when reality starts to feel like a film, consequences start to feel fake. People begin to believe rules don't apply. That's when legends are born, and that's also when the darker stories begin. But here's the twist. The hotel's job is not to prevent chaos entirely. If it did, it would lose its edge. Part of the attraction is the sense that anything could happen, as long as it stays contained. So the Marmont walks a thin line, enough freedom to feel alive, enough control to keep the machine running. When you hear deals behind the curtains, it's tempting to imagine dramatic scenes, handshakes in dark hallways, envelopes, conspiracies. The reality is usually quieter, and that's what makes it powerful. Hollywood deals aren't always signed in boardrooms. They're built through trust, leverage, and timing. The right dinner, the right conversation, the right moment when someone is vulnerable enough to say yes. A hotel like the Château Marmont is perfect for this because it compresses the world. People who would never meet in public end up 3 feet apart in a private lounge. People who are too busy to schedule a meeting end up sharing the same space. And when a place becomes known as where people meet, it becomes self-fulfilling. More meetings happen because meetings have happened there before. That's how power concentrates. The Marmont isn't powerful because it forces deals. It's powerful because it creates the conditions where deals become easy. And when deals become easy, the people who control access to those conditions gain influence. So the real question isn't what deal happened in this room. The real question is, how many careers were shaped just by being invited into the room at all?
Secrecy always has a bill. You pay with money, yes, premium rates, long stays, special requests, but the deeper payment is social. You pay by accepting the rules. You pay by not asking certain questions. You pay by playing the game. For famous guests, secrecy can be survival. For the hotel, secrecy is the brand. For Hollywood, secrecy is the oxygen. Without it, the industry collapses into scandals and lawsuits and chaos. But every system that protects the top creates pressure at the bottom. Staff must maintain calm no matter what they see. Workers are expected to be invisible. Boundaries blur, emotions get swallowed. And that's where the dark archive concept becomes real. Because the hotel isn't just collecting celebrity memories, it's collecting human costs, the quiet compromises people make to keep the machine running. A legendary place can feel glamorous from the outside and exhausting from the inside. The guest experiences peace, the staff experiences pressure. So when people romanticize the Marmont, it's worth remembering, privacy is not magic, it's labor. And labor, in these worlds, is often hidden.
At some point, a place becomes too famous to fail, not because it's perfect, but because people are invested in the myth. The Marmont's myth is simple. If you're important, you belong here. That myth attracts important people. Important people make it true. And soon, the hotel isn't just a hotel, it's a status checkpoint. And once a place becomes a checkpoint, it becomes emotional. People attach identity to it. I stayed there when I made it. I stayed there when I was broken. I stayed there when my life changed. The building starts to function like a memory container for an entire industry. That makes it hard to critique honestly, because criticizing the hotel feels like criticizing the era of your own rise. This is how institutions protect themselves, not by being flawless, but by being meaningful. People will defend a meaningful place even when it has shadows. And those shadows become part of the legend, whispered, never fully confirmed, always known. That's how the Marmont stays alive. It doesn't deny the darkness, it absorbs it and turns it into mystique.
Hollywood changes its skin every decade. Silent films to talkies, studios to agencies, old money to tech money. Most businesses die when the culture changes. Château Marmont survives because it sells a need that never changes: discretion. In every era, powerful people fear the same thing: loss of control. Control of their image, their money, their relationships, their reputation. The tools change. Newspapers become blogs. Blogs become social media, but the fear stays the same. So the Marmont adapts, not always loudly. Sometimes the adaptation is just vibe, lighting, policy, who gets welcomed, who gets turned away, what kind of behavior is tolerated. This is what separates legendary places from trendy places. Trendy places chase the spotlight. Legendary places let the spotlight pass and keep the door closed. And when you stay relevant by staying closed, people start treating you like a secret society. That's when a hotel becomes an institution.
Here's the conflict of the modern era. The internet hates secrets. Everything is content now. Every moment is a potential post. Every location is a potential tag. And the more famous a place is, the more people want proof they were there. That's poison for the Marmont's brand, because the brand is not beautiful rooms. The brand is no proof. So modern Château Marmont lives under constant threat, not just paparazzi outside, but guests inside who might trade privacy for attention. That creates tension. A place built on discretion becomes surrounded by people who profit from exposure. Even celebrities are now part of their own marketing machine. Sometimes they need privacy, and sometimes they need visibility. So the hotel has to decide, do we protect the old mythology, or do we become another trendy Hollywood stop? And this is where deals behind the curtains becomes bigger than a phrase. The real deal is the hotel's deal with Hollywood itself. I will protect you if you protect my secrecy.
When you hear people say the Marmont isn't what it used to be, it's not just nostalgia, it's a business reality. If the wrong crowd takes over, the product changes. If tourists flood the lobby, the product changes. If people come just to be seen, the product dies. So the hotel's survival depends on being selective, and selectivity always creates resentment. Some people feel excluded, some feel judged, some feel like the rules are unfair. But the hotel can't be everything to everyone. That's the point. It's a place designed to feel like a protected bubble, and bubbles require pressure to maintain shape. That pressure shows up in strict culture, in quiet control, in subtle barriers. And that's where the hotel becomes a symbol of Hollywood itself, a city that promises access while constantly limiting it. There's something psychologically powerful about staying in a castle in the middle of Los Angeles. A normal hotel makes you feel like a customer. A castle makes you feel like a character. That's what the Marmont sells: identity, the feeling that you're in a story. And in Hollywood, feeling like you're in a story is addictive. Because if your life is a story, then every mistake becomes a chapter. Every scandal becomes a plot twist. Every consequence becomes drama. This mindset can protect you or destroy you. It can help you survive pressure by turning it into art, or it can convince you that rules don't apply. And the hotel quietly profits from that psychological effect. Because when people feel like characters, they stay longer, they spend more, they return, they talk about it, they add to the myth.
So the architecture isn't just aesthetic, it's emotional engineering.
Every glamorous place has a second world behind the walls. Corridors guests don't use, staff entrances, storage rooms, maintenance schedules, quiet routines that keep the illusion alive. The Marmont's magic is actually thousands of small actions, clean linen appearing instantly, noise disappearing, conflicts handled quietly, public spaces kept calm even on chaotic nights. This is the human cost of the myth. Discretion means restraint. Restraint means stress. And in any system where workers are expected to absorb the mess of the powerful, the burden becomes uneven. The guest gets to be free. The staff gets to be responsible. That doesn't mean every story is cruel, but it means the structure itself is built on imbalance, and imbalance is always the first ingredient in a dark story.
When a hotel becomes the place, it loses the ability to be ordinary. A normal hotel can make mistakes and recover. A legendary hotel can't. Because every mistake becomes a headline, every incident becomes a symbol, every rumor becomes a permanent stain. So Château Marmont has to constantly protect itself from becoming its own legend. It has to manage expectations, manage risk, manage the kind of people it attracts. That's a hard position, because the legend is what keeps it alive, but the legend also keeps dragging trouble toward its door. It's like building a lighthouse and then being surprised when ships appear in storms. Château Marmont is not just a building, it's a concept. Hollywood's private room. A place where success can hide. A place where failure can be managed. A place where relationships form in the shadows and emerge later as sudden news. It represents the truth that the entertainment industry never says out loud. Fame is fragile. The public loves you until it doesn't, and when it doesn't, you need places that still do. That's why powerful people defend it. They're not defending wallpaper. They're defending a system that helps them survive.
It's easy to romanticize the Marmont. A castle, a sunset view, a legendary vibe. But romance is only one layer. The deeper layer is moral tension. A place that protects privacy can protect healing or protect wrongdoing. A place that hides stories can preserve dignity or erase accountability. And the truth is, it can do both, depending on who you are and what you're trying to escape. That's what makes it a dark archive. Not because it's evil, but because it's complicated. It stores the parts of Hollywood that Hollywood can't show you.
In Los Angeles, disappearing is not something everyone can afford. If you're powerful, you can disappear and return rebranded. If you're not, you disappear and you're forgotten. The Marmont sits at the center of that difference. It doesn't create inequality, it reflects it, and it benefits from it. So when people say this is where Hollywood hides, the real question isn't what happens there. The real question is who is allowed to hide and who gets exposed. That's the final shadow behind the castle.
Château Marmont survives because it sells something Hollywood will always need. A place where the story can pause, where the cameras stop, when the world can't reach you for a moment. But that pause comes at a cost, not just money, but control, labor, and the quiet compromises that keep the myth alive. If you enjoy deep investigations into iconic places and the hidden systems behind them, please like this video, subscribe, and tell me in the comments what we should explore next. Should we investigate the Savoy in London, Ritz Paris, the Dakota in New York, or Hotel Nacional in Havana? These aren't just buildings, they're pressure chambers for power. Every great place has its secrets, and every secret has a price.